Hello and welcome to the 4Corners podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Matt and Chad as always. So, gentlemen, have we stopped laughing after this weekend?
No,
No.
I'm I
no.
laugh on the inside. I smile when no one's watching.
Ah,
I I giggle when the room is quiet.
Yeah, if you're a CM Punk fan and you're watching this, I would just say come back next week because you're not gonna
Yeah, I'm
like this.
sorry, but you're not gonna be happy. Look,
because
I think it's
we got our shovels and we're ready to do some burying.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that the three of us had the episode before he ever showed up in AEW, and we were kind of like, behavior's really putting us off. And then with Brawl In and Brawl Out and all that sort of stuff, we were like, wow, we really don't like him. Now we get the hater stuff out.
Yeah. So
Oh, come here. I hate you.
I do wanna disclaimer this though, because this is gonna be very specifically directed at him. Because this is very directed at him because of his performative activism about the Saudi Arabia shows. Like, Shad and I were talking before the show that like I don't hold it against anyone else that does the shows, like the wrestlers, especially the ones because I told Shad like for someone that doesn't talk about it and someone was like, "Why do you do the shows?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, their government sucks, but like the people coming to the shows like aren't doing that, so like why punish them?" Like I think there's legitimate reasons, but like if someone's not if so like I had said when we were talking about the bonuses, I said, yeah, if they're paying me, I'd probably go. Like but to me like it would just be a job to me. So it's like
The other
okay,
people that
that's what the job calls for.
the other people that had something to say about it, they didn't make a huge. They just didn't go. Like that first year they did it, Sami Zayn just didn't go.
Yeah,
He wasn't
that's
allowed to go though.
yeah,
that's
he
fair.
wasn't allowed to go. I actually mention him because I have a disagreement with Brad. Like I personally feel like I can understand if you want to make the argument. It's like, well, sometimes it's important to have outreach, so you should maybe consider going because maybe the people it's really. But I I think the government is so entrenched there. It's not like you're gonna go and do your little wrestling show and the people in the stands are gonna be like so moved. It's like it's gonna help continue like the cultural movement away from
No,
like
I
the
mean,
oppressive government.
I wouldn't even think
Like
that
that's
if I
not it.
was. I wouldn't even think that if I was going. I was saying if I worked there, to me, well, it's a job, and going to the show is part of my
I
job. Like, so I'm just gonna do it. And
I
like, and if someone like gave me pushback, it'd be like, look, like I'm doing my job. Like the fans there are not the government, and I
I
don't see a
I get
reason
it, and
to punish them for
and
it.
you could make the argument that certainly at times in this country, especially like in the South, the territory days, 80s, especially like the 70s, 60s, 70s, there was a lot of African American wrestling talent who I'm sure they worked towns, in shows that they were probably not well received by
Oh,
the people there.
sundown towns. Yeah, they probably work
Yeah,
those.
and they probably were like, I don't want to be in this town. Like, screw these people. But they did it because it's like it's a job, putting money in my pocket. But so I can kind of get it. But at the same time, like I think for me the problem is that the Saudi government and the Crown Prince, whatever, like they are so entrenched in this, like to the point where
Yeah.
it's just like his initiative, this and other sports
Well, they
entertainment,
just they just
sports
executed
venture.
they just executed a journalist a couple weeks ago, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. So they're still doing this, and this is really like his baby, and it's designed to kind of whitewash the government and make things like everything. Oh, look how great everything is and everything. I think you could make the argument that yeah, it's a job, but it's also like you're kind of still contributing to propping up the regime, I guess, or the crown prince.
I
The
just
term I've
The
seen flying around has been
the
sports
fair.
washing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Now, I did want to because he was mentioned. Look, we're gonna clown on CM Punk, and it's fun, and we should because he held himself out to a pedestal. And when you hold yourself out on a pedestal and act like you're better than everyone else, then you do hypocritical things. You're gonna get slammed, and you should. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I did want to mention, because he's mentioned Sami Zayn, like Sami Zayn flies under the radar, but it's like Sami Zayn deserves criticism for getting up there and kind of preaching some of the things he's preached, and then him going and kind of sports washing the regime too, especially how I think Saudi Arabia has contributed to even the causes that Sami believes in. Like I don't think that they're exactly have been friendly or contributed money to help out Syrians and or Palestinians or any other people. Like so it's a little hypocritical for him to go and sports wash this too, and he kind of flies under the radar, of course, because generally he has the right politics, and I'm not trying to make it a political thing or right versus left thing. I'm not actually taking a side. I'm just saying, like, again, if you hold yourself out to ideals and positions and everything, and then you do things that are kind of antithetical to that or kind of hypocritical to that, then it's like you don't necessarily get to be like, oh well, we'll cut this person a break. It's like, no, you shouldn't cut him a break. Like, you should at least be like, what are you doing?
I think especially when it's apparent in the window that you were just doing it for internet ass pats because you were
for clout.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that's how Sami Zayn is, because I think Sami Zayn does believe in certain things. But let's go back to
I don't know. Sami Zayn, I think Sami Zayn hasn't put enough out there to really like draw a beat on Sami Zayn. Like, I'm sure there's hypocrisy at work, but like the problem is, like, with him versus Punk is just so nakedly obvious about everything he does.
Oh yeah.
That like,
yeah,
it's easy to see like what the thing is. Like with Sami, like it's like Sami's probably like a complicated individual, and if you were to ask him about it, I bet he might have like an argument where you're like, okay, like I might not agree with that, but I can see your thought process with that. And like Punk wouldn't even. I wouldn't even give Punk that benefit of the doubt.
He could kind of rationalize it too, because he could be like, look, if I go and do this show, once or twice a year, then the WWE I'll be in their good graces, and they're also like help me out when I do my fundraiser to raise money for Syrians or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there may be like compromises that he feels are kind of worth making to achieve ultimately some of the things he wants to achieve. So I can get it. But yeah, other people, not even talking about CM Punk, something you said a minute ago, where it's like people who are kind of more performative. Like, we've seen that in wrestling before by people who just turned out to be just complete bags of shit. Like, I think about David Starr. Yeah, David Starr like really popped himself up and like, I'm a socialist and I'm for like wrestling unions and everything like that. And then it turns out he's like rapist, sex pest, etc.
Well, and like, that referee got assaulted so bad on a show he worked that he couldn't work again, and he didn't say a fucking thing about it.
He didn't say anything, which is a workers' rights guy. Like, the easiest thing in the world would have been for him to be like, look, that's completely inappropriate. Like, this is why we need a union to protect people. Like, nothing, just silence, because he wanted to continue getting booked.
Because he wants ass pats on Reddit and Twitter at the time.
So the other thing I was going to say about Zayn is, and this might be an odd inside baseball way of looking at it, but given that Sami Zayn is a Muslim, and one of the tenets is you're supposed to try and visit Mecca at one point in your life, and that's in Saudi Arabia. So what did he do that first trip he went on? Yeah, he had the fact that he went and he completed his Hajj. You know what? All right, I can understand that. I don't agree with it, but he's in a complicated position. It's one of the things that you're supposed to do. And okay, all right.
And let's be fair.
But it's also not like, hey, I'm trying. Like you said, it's not performative. It's not, hey, I'm dunking on you because I'm superior to you or something like that.
And he also did not like. I don't remember the first time he went, but he did not. Oh, what's the word I want? He did not make himself look like such a fucking sellout bitch like Punk did when he went.
The first time, if I remember the discourse, and I might be wrong, but I think it's that he wasn't allowed to go.
No, he wasn't allowed
'Cause
to
he
go
was
for
doing-
race because
Yeah,
because of his ethnicity. He was not allowed to go.
Yeah, because
the first couple
his
times.
family's Lebanese, I think.
Yeah,
Syrian.
Syrian. Okay, sorry.
Pretty sure it's Syrian. I'll look
It
this up
was-
to make sure I'm not misspeaking, but
Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at it, but it was because of his
Okay.
specific ethnicity he wasn't allowed to go.
Yeah. So, and would that kind of piss you off? Sure, I get that too. But it's not okay. Like Brad alluded to the whole coming off like a bitch thing. It is so glaringly obvious because before they did the shows there, they had a meet and greet thing. And here comes Punk being all high and mighty, and this guy calls him out about how he's, how offensive he was to Saudi
Well,
Arabia.
that
It's
guy-
like, we have a stunt granny. We have a stunt granny.
Yeah, that guy was an obvious plant because he showed
He was a
up.
plant.
He showed up numerous
And he showed
times.
up again later, and the dude, like, I know it's a weird reference to reference Secrets of Wrestling from, the late 90s that was on ABC or NBC or something like that.
I still
It's
remember
a
it.
stunt granny.
I still remember it because of the fake wrestler like skullduggery that they had.
Yeah. Well, because they had a whole bunch of real wrestlers who wanted to protect their identity. It's like, these guys carnied them so hard.
Well, one of them was Harley Race, I'm pretty sure. I'd have to go back and look.
I think one of You know what? I'm not going to
Remember
speculate
that
off
came out.
memory.
Did that come out around when that stupid Jesse Ventura movie came out and he like stole and valored like the Bret Hart situation?
In my head, I think they're similar time frame, but I can't swear to it. But in any event, here he does this whole thing, and what is it? I woke up and I was grumpy, so I said something mean about the Miz, so I'm sorry. And I'm like, dude, he said it didn't have anything to do with Saudi Arabia. It's like, okay, hold on. How dumb do you think everybody is? Because everybody who's seen that knows that tweet was, number one, yes, being mean to the Miz, but number two, it was not just being mean to the Miz.
And that's not the only thing he said, and was also in the same time period that he tried to get AJ Styles canceled for being conservative and Christian and just dressed
Doing the
it.
same, Matt?
well, to that point, it's ironic then because I mean, certainly the political leanings of the WWE at the
We
current
just
moment
dropped two
have-
viewers after saying that.
Uh,
Oh, well.
I was about to say like the political leanings of the current WWE is pretty, of which he is a proud employee has never been less transparent. At least like that's who they're pandering to, at least for right or wrong. But I to the point about the Miz, like I also feel like he also, I think he's cowardly for many reasons, but he chose a
Apolitical
subject.
target.
Well, he chose a target that also, like, even when he said it, when he said it, like 2020,
Yeah.
like years ago, but even by 2020,
6
Miz
years
was
ago
kind
or
of-
something?
yeah, Miz was already like a clown. Like Miz was already,
And a target that's not
At
going to fight
best.
back either. Like
yeah,
Miz,
he's at best like a mid card act that, he was kind of a clown. I mean, no one is taking the Miz as a serious. It's not
No.
like even I would say like going against AJ Styles is more like, okay, that's at least like a, even 2020, like that's a guy who's more of a main
It's a name,
star.
yeah.
Yeah, but
in the
I
WWE.
think to go along with the cowardly though, is Miz and AJ are guys that aren't going to fight back though, because that's not how they behave. Because they don't want to get in their internet slap fights. They kind of just want to show up to work and get their paycheck and go home. So like even his targets,
Which
I would-
I'm sure he knows.
because notice he didn't go after like Undertaker,
Oh,
Yeah.
who's like a popular target, because Undertaker might fight back and there might be like future ramifications. Like he picked very safe targets.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that,
that's my point. He
and like
chose a very safe target in the Miz.
and I think the problem with the Miz one though is like going back to like people that are probably just look at it as a job, like that's the Miz.
Mhm.
And I think what really kind of screwed him though, is because he had people defending him.
Championing him.
Yeah, he had his ball washers out before this, and like the first thing you see is this kid comes up to him, wants to get a picture, and he just shoves him away, and that just started it off like bad.
Well, before we get to that, there was a ton of people online that I saw on social media on Twitter who there was a contingent. They were adamant.
I can't see it.
I can't really see. What does that say? Suffocating a fragment.
Just so our viewers know what's happening right now.
Yeah. Spoiler. There was a whole contingent of people online who swore, like, you know, up and down, like, no, he's not going to go. Like, he won't go to Saudi Arabia. No, like, this is against everything he believes in. He's not going to go. Contriving, like, oh, you know, he'll get injured. Or say he's injured or whatever like that. Meanwhile, like, I don't know if he really is, but Dominic Mysterio, he's like, yeah, I'm not going. I'm injured, and he may be injured, like, legitimately. I don't know. But he was, to me, it almost felt like Dominic Mysterio was like, I'm not gonna go over there. Are you crazy? So I don't know. Maybe he legit is hurt.
I don't know. If I was going, I might have like suddenly come down with a case of torn muscleitis when like all that stuff started earlier in the week.
Maybe you have like a little nagging injury that like, oh man, my elbow's been really hurting me. I think I need to go get it checked out. The doctor said I got to rest it for like 2-3 weeks.
Man, this ingrown...
The phrase you're looking for is he's got the Arabian flu.
Oh man, guys, this ingrown toenail I just got really infected. I can't do it, guys. I'm sorry.
My thumb really hurts.
I was so looking forward to it, guys, but oh man, like just can't do it.
Oh yeah, I can't smell. I must have COVID. Got to stay home.
Yeah. Or I got that new bird flu thing.
Oh yeah. There was a whole group of people who were like, no, he's not going to go. Like he'll find a way out of it.
Oh, he was.
And then of course they set up a title match between him and John Cena for the show. So it's like, okay, first, which that even setting that up. And we listened. I think Brad, you and I listened to Trish and Sarah talk about that.
Such a hilarious middle finger.
Yeah, the setup to that was like John Cena did like the FU to Punk in the ring on a branded Slim Jim table.
Snap into a Slim Jim table.
Because now they're branding everything. Let me slap a logo because we get paid.
That ring is so sponsors. That ring is so terrible. Like I was watching something.
Yeah,
it's distracting how bad it is. Because like I think it would be okay. Not saying that I wouldn't hate it still, but the black ring mat is just terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. But to even set up the match, John Cena did the FU to him, and Punk is just laying there like he's, pretending that he's out. And John Cena proceeds to cut like a 10-15 minute promo on him, where basically it's like, yeah, you suck, you have no morals, you're a sellout, and doing a callback to the pipe bomb, which itself is like 14 years ago. Like people like us, we have loved the pipe bomb because we like watched it back in the day. But you have a whole audience that's like 16 years old and loves the bloodline, so like they're not going to get this. Like, okay, but basically regardless, it's like a 10-15 minute like, hey John, hey, you like suck, CM Punk, and like really trashing him in very pointed terms, like you're a sellout, you have no morals, like of course you're going to go to Saudi Arabia. And then it's like that the promo's over, and then they have the match. They're going for the match. First off, if you believe like, no, he's not going to go, he won't go to Saudi Arabia, it's like they wouldn't book the match if he wasn't going to go to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, they're not going to do that.
This was happening.
Yeah. So I loved that this is like the beginning, clearly the beginning of the humiliation ritual. It's like, let me have you down on this gaudy Slim Jim table.
Oh, and by the way,
you're hurt for 10 minutes.
You have to lay there for 15 minutes
Yeah.
for the entire thing and sell the entire time. Cena, by the way, rolled off the table in the original pipe bomb and like propped himself up in the corner. It was like, no,
Yeah.
you have to lay there with your eyes closed and not move because it was so.
You act like you're dead.
Yeah, why have they been doing this with Cena though? Because they like they hurt Cody really bad with like the Mania match and the build up to that. And like I don't like Punk, but like you kind of just castrated Punk with that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they absolutely did. They made him out to be a complete chump and really trashed him. And if you don't like Punk, like I don't, like I just got a big laugh out of it. But it is counterproductive, right?
It was bad business. Like you made your face look like a bitch. And I would say outside of Cody, I'm going from a business perspective here. Outside of Cody, Punk should probably be your second most protected babyface on the roster. And you don't do stuff like that to your top faces.
For a guy, well, I mean, I think he's terrible, but you could argue Jey Uso because he's really over. But
his entrance is over. He's not over though.
Well, we had that whole discussion. But
yeah,
if you're gonna, I would actually say Roman, but Roman's like, to call him even a part-timer is like a laugh. Like
he's like a tourist at this point.
He's barely ever there. But if
he's got a Legends contract.
Yeah, basically, for all intents and purposes, like that story came out like not that long ago that TKO is like, can we renegotiate this guy's contract? And I don't know if it was true or not, but it's certainly something that rings true. Because if I was TKO, I'd be like, why are we paying this dude like? And Dave Meltzer disputed the number because they said like he gets 15 million. Dave Meltzer was like, that's not true. But it's like, I bet you he's getting like, once you factor everything, merchandise, toys, everything, he's getting a few million. If he got like 10, I wouldn't be shocked. But if you're TKO, like you might be like, why are we paying this dude like, let's say like 10 million? Why are we paying this dude like $10 million, all things considered,
my
for a
only
year, and he goes up like 8 times maybe?
My only shock if he's getting 10 million is I don't believe they would pay someone that much. As much as they bellyache about.
I could see
as much as they bellyache
$5 million deal.
Yeah, I could see that. But like them paying someone 10 million, as much as they bellyache about AEW paying people, like I don't see them actually shelling out that much for a singular person. Like I could see between 5 and 8 million, but I think they would start weaseling it like 10 or 15 because that's eating too much into their bottom line for them to.
We don't exactly know how much AEW pays people. The closest I think is that we have kind of gotten figures from people that I think Dave Meltzer and other people who like kind of really pocket watch the finances are like, well, that's probably accurate. And we've seen the numbers that I think I've seen it.
Janela, I think, said how much he got paid at some point.
An individual saying how much they got paid, that's one thing, obviously, because they can disclose. But obviously, the AEW doesn't disclose, and why should you? Because it's like you don't want just because anyone could walk in the door and be like, I need this much.
Janela, I think, was making like in the 200K range because someone had said something once.
That's kind of insane.
And he was like, I'm making. Well, I mean, but I think they pay. Like, I bet the low end is still 6 figures for them, unless you're like an indie guy at Ring of Honor.
I don't know that I would. I think it depends. Like when they first started, some people, they almost were making it seem like everyone will get paid like not the same rate, but I mean, I think you can't. You shouldn't be like WWE where it's like here's your $60,000 a year NXT contract, and you'll get a WrestleMania moment maybe. Like you shouldn't do that. But I don't know that I would pay Janela, who was I kind of in my heart have a soft spot for Janela at times, but I don't know that I would pay Janela like 200,000.
I mean, but
like maybe 100,000.
What Meltzer
depending upon what you're using it for.
Well, Meltzer said that he pays them like a sports franchise, so he's paying half his revenue out to talent. So
yeah,
but so
that's what
like,
I'm saying.
If you're treating them like athletes, your low end guys aren't gonna make like poverty prizes, poverty wages. You're probably gonna pay them 6 figures. Like you're probably gonna, I bet, unless you're a Ring of Honor, which or you're on a per date deal, which some of those guys are. But I bet you start off in AEW at like 100.
125 maybe.
Yeah.
And the thing is, in AEW, I know I said this last time, but it goes further because you're not covering your travel that way. So
That's a good point. That the number I was going to say, I think I had read was that they pay something like maybe 50 to 60% of their operating budget. It goes towards like salaries. Now I don't know if that's accurate, but
If they run like a sports
it's
team,
comparable. Yeah, it's comparable to like a sports team.
well, if they run like a sports team, it's probably 51 or 52%. Because he also did the breakdown. UFC I think pays like 15ish% out to their fighters, and the WWE was like 9%.
Yeah, it's like under 10.
Yeah.
And UFC is like ridiculously low to the point where they've been sued
But
by the fighters for
so
the amount of money they get paid.
The thing with UFC though is, you don't actually know how much the fighters make because you get to go into it real quick. So you get a show amount. So you get your show amount. If you win, you get that amount usually again. But then you can win bonuses. You can get submission, fight, and KO of the night, which I don't know how much those are. But guys have also said that Dana White typically bonuses them on top of what they made. So there's undisclosed amounts that they make. So if you're like a top guy in UFC, or even like a mid-level guy, you're probably coming away from a fight with 50K. And if you luck into like, oh, you got a really nice knockout and they bonus you a little extra, you could probably come away with 6 figures for a fight. But they're also paying those guys per fight too, so it's not the same.
yeah.
But UFC's complicated.
So that was the backstory to even set up the match. Some people were like, "This match is not going to happen." It does, but yeah, like you said, like they all arrive, which was also like, is this going to happen? Because the United States decided to basically have a mini war with Iran at the time. So Iran was like, Iran bombed some places in
Qatar.
In Qatar, however you pronounce it.
Believe it or not, it's Qatar. I had a let me put it this way: I had an authority on the subject correct me on it,
Okay.
and one I actually believe.
Okay. And so it was, are they going to be able to even go over there? But I guess, they privately chartered jets.
Yeah, because remember the second time I think they went, that they murdered that journalist, and like the State Department was like telling them like, look, if you get into trouble over there, we can't help you. Like they had the United States government saying like you shouldn't go, and they still went.
The civilian airspace was closed in Saudi Arabia, and they're like, well, we're going anyway. Oh my God. And that just absolutely killed me, because I was like, are you kidding me? Because I think there was like the production crew.
Yeah, they got crew stuck somewhere for a while.
In like Yemen or something like that. And they're just, the crew stuck, the production crew that was going ahead of time to set up is stuck at an airport because of all this. And let's not forget that this is the same country where talent was officially not, but really kind of was, held hostage on the runway in the plane. It's like, come on, man. Seriously? And so we go through all of that stuff, and then all of that, the previous tweets, then the stunt granny plant, and then the other ritual, I'm going to tap the sign again, the other ritual humiliation that took place with the Thug Life throwback, the Doctor of Thugonomics throwback, and it's like, what are we accomplishing with this?
Can I ask an honest question with the apology thing? Were we supposed to believe that was like organic, or was was that the takeaway we were supposed to have?
I think you are.
Who do you think would fall for that?
I think there are people who You don't underestimate that there are people who are probably
Those people would want to
very
believe, and you wouldn't even have to do that because they would justify it on the back end anyway. Like those are the only people you're convincing that it wasn't.
I think there are people who are probably low information who also like they don't know like what he's even apologizing for. They just may see
Yeah.
that, and so they're just like, oh, it's nice, he's apologizing for something.
It's
like, yeah,
it is full on contempt for your audience, is what it is, and because it's like, oh, you all are going to take whatever we give you, and you're going to be happy with it because that's what you do, and it's just like. I mean, this is someone that I was suspect of 20 years ago, and it's only gotten worse. We have all of that, and then this apology takes place, and it is the most, like, it is one of the most unbelievable apologies I've ever heard. It sounds too rehearsed, and it is carefully scrubbed to be just right for the in-person audience.
The index cards he was reading on kind of gave that away.
And so what do we have is we've got this thing happening, and then
I love those people that were like, oh, CM Punk is matured, and it's like he was 41 when he said that. Like, no, he didn't.
Yeah,
I'm
really how much yes.
Thank
people,
you.
I will believe
I'm really glad
change.
you asked me that question. Yes, I am very upset about the things that I said. yeah, that's a great idea. It's just written all.
Written all the way down. Look, can people change? Sure. If someone who's been a miserable jerk like him for pretty much his entire adult life going to, I sincerely doubt it.
Well, and there's other stuff. There's like stuff he's done in AEW and all of that. Like it just shows like his rank hypocrisy. And I think with this one, it's really just a cell phone because like I would be laughing about it. I would be laughing about it to a degree, especially like just the match and like the thugonomics thing. But he wouldn't be catching it near as much flack as he is if he just had not like been saying that stuff to get brownie points. That's where, because I think that's where people are gonna like it's what Trish and Sarah said. Like the people that are, I think, looking at it critically, like us, I mean, and laughing at him, but it's just like, well, no, you're catching this flack because you pretty much put that target on your back.
If you live your life and you repeatedly say, well, I would say live your life because that's like you actually are abiding by a moral code, but you at least like very vocally be like, this is my moral code. And then you go back on that code, you do things completely opposite of that code, you betray that code, then you can't be like upset for people to be like, hey, you can't, for noticing. Like you can't be like, why are you getting mad at me? Come on. Cut me a break. I've matured. No, you haven't. Come on.
It's like let's say you're one of those cable pastors. You're driving your $200,000 car and you get caught porking your secretary on the side, and that's a big deal because of like you preach no sex outside of marriage, being faithful and stuff, versus some guy on the news porking his secretary. It's just like, well, was it consensual? Okay, whatever.
It's funny you say that because Jimmy Swaggart just died today.
We did?
Yeah.
You know what's hilarious?
9 years old.
You know what's hilarious that I just discovered? Do you know Jim Baker's still around and he hawks those survival buckets? Those like post-apocalypse survival buckets.
Oh my god.
It's hilarious.
His wife like died not that long ago, right? She got cancer, I think. Like, she was looking rough.
Yeah.
She was looking rough by the end. Going back to Punk, like I've talked about this on the show before, like years ago, when I visited friend of the show, Christy Petrillo, for his birthday one year. Like this is like over a decade ago. we watched the CM Punk documentary that the WWE did back in the day. And he had already like been a champion before. He's obviously before he left the company, but I don't know if this was after the pipe bomb, maybe, but he just came off. This is in some ways these are like puff documentaries.
Is this the one where he decided he was like vegan or vegetarian and didn't tell anyone?
Yeah,
and then
that was a whole
touted it
segment. Like
catering?
he decided he just decided he was going to be vegan, which is like, I don't think you're doing this for any great moral standpoint. Like my sister-in-law was vegan for a long time. She loves animals. Like she did it for actually like moral reasons. Was it even like a dietary thing? It's like moral. Like she loves animals. So she was vegan for a long time. She stopped being vegan because it actually became like it was healthier for not to be vegan. But she was vegan for a long time because of actual moral reasons. And it didn't strike me that he made that decision for that purpose. I think it, per the course of the trajectory of his life, it was just something he could act like he's better than other people. Like, I'm vegan. You eat animals? Screw you. Like, anyway, he became vegan.
And he was
Didn't tell anyone.
He was also real big on straight edge until it wasn't cool anymore, and he kind of shut up about it.
He, but he didn't. Not that the documentary doesn't show that he told anyone. So he's like, I told you, like in the documentary, he's walking around catering. He has like a little empty plate, Hulk walking, and he's looking around and just seeing everything that's not vegan. Doesn't even say like, here's a big plate of meat. Just stuff that's like maybe there's like a salad, but they put feta cheese in it, or something, And he's just like, look at this, like acting like what a chip on his shoulder is, like, I can't believe this, and have nothing for me to eat. And it's like, how are they going to accommodate you? Look, again, I had a family member who was vegan. Trust me, unless you're in very specific places in the country that caters to that, like my sister-in-law has lived in LA for over a decade. Like, in LA, that you can do vegan pretty easily because they have a lot of vegan places for you. They cater to vegan stuff at the grocery store or whatever. Like, you gotta where you gotta go to a show in like Alabama. It was kind of all these vegan options, maybe necessarily. I don't think so. Texas, the land of barbecue. Like, come on.
If you told people that, I think that's where it kind of came across. Like, he just decided it. Like, if you said, "Hey, I'm vegan," like those catering places do have like, okay, they
have alternate menus. Yeah.
They absolutely can accommodate that. Look. Vegans are a smaller population, so
and especially a company WWE's using, they can absolutely accommodate if they know, because
they can. But at the same time, like a catering company, they may have like, here's 25 different food items we provide you. Maybe 5 of them will be vegan. It's not going to be like you have an entire like buffet of stuff for you to eat. Like you're just not anyway, because they're gonna minimize it because they're not going to cater to a very narrow population as much as.
But you
for everyone,
that going in, like it's like when you're on a diet, like you're going low carbs or something, you go to someone's house, like you might tell them, but like if there's a bunch of shit there you can't eat because it's your diet, it's just like, well, okay, that's just.
What if you have something? Right, it's like, what if it's like, because I know someone who has this, who's like, I have celiac disease, so it's like, yeah, and we don't see this person that often, but way back in the day, like we had a party once. We're gonna invite just a small thing. We're like watching. I think I was watching Game of Thrones, and we invited her and like 15 other people to come over to watch Game of Thrones. We ordered her pizza. We were like, you know what? We're gonna accommodate you because we're gonna get like a gluten-free pizza. So we got like a little pizza for her, and she was like so appreciative. It's like, oh wow, that's nice. And it's like, yeah. But I know the situation, so I can actually do something for you. I'm not gonna be like a dick and just be like, oh.
I mean, my friends were
like, come on.
I had friends that were vegetarians when I was like in my 20s. They just bring their own shit to everything. They'd be like, well, what do you guys want? Like, I would just bring our own stuff.
And the other thing that gets me.
Oh, Shad died.
Oh my God, Shad!
They got him. Punk got him. So, well, I do want to kind of go when he comes back, but the kid thing was such a cell phone on his part, though.
a kid. So for people who don't know who didn't see it, it was on social media. Like Punk arrives, he's like walking to like, I don't think it was like an airport. It was like maybe he's walking to the
It was
arena
right
or
before the
something. I don't know.
Fan Fest, I think.
Okay, so yeah, so fans were there, like a little kid, and I don't know how old the kid was. I guess I didn't pay that close
5
attention,
or
but he's
6,
young.
I think.
I think he looked a little older, but he wasn't like a teenager. But
No,
I
Punk
figured he
just,
was
like,
about 10.
Punk kind of like shoved him away, not like forceful, like the kid's knocked to the ground. He's kind of like, and
He doesn't say anything. He just pushes the kid away
Yeah.
off to the side, and it's like, no.
it is, yeah. Even if you didn't want to give an autograph or something like that, you could have been like, hey, like thumbs up, or it's like,
Yeah, the kid wanted
Or,
a
like,
picture, though. Because he had his phone. I mean, I did think it was uncalled for when Randy Orton snuck up behind him and RKO'd him.
oh,
But I remember
Randy Orton was there.
there was a
Yeah.
clip I saw of now disgraced radio personality Anthony Cumia was talking about like
Oh.
his philosophy on taking pictures and stuff and doing autographs. And he said, look, he's like, if you just sign something for someone and you're nice to them, it's 2 or 3 minutes of your time. He says, but if you say no, that turns into a whole thing that's like 5 or 10 minutes. So it's just easier to be nice to people and do it because then they're happy and they go away. And he's like, versus like then you're an asshole and stuff, and then you have to deal with all that. It's like he's like, so I just take the picture and like sign stuff because like it's less hassle overall.
I agree, but I also am thinking, as an aside, there are people who take extreme liberties with that, because we've talked about this on the show. But the people who will like they'll park at the airport when like WWE's coming in, and all of a sudden, you know, like Asuka is like walking through the airport, and some dude rolls up with like a rolly bag, and it's like, hi, can you sign these 20 things? It's like, what are you doing? This is completely inappropriate. But I do get what you're saying, and this is a situation where it's like it's a kid. Like,
Yeah, it's a kid.
maybe you don't want to take a picture, but you can't be like, hey, like high five, and a kid wants a picture. You'd be like, not there.
Or just be
Instead
like,
of just like,
or just be like, sorry, buddy, I can't do it, and tussle his hair and kind of just send him on his way. Like,
Yeah, if you say something like, look, man, I'm sorry, I have to keep going. I hope I see you later.
because I saw
That's one. But instead, what we saw in the video is the kid leans out with the phone like this, like he wants to take a selfie, and we see Punk go. And I'm just like, doesn't that speak volume? This is the guy who wanted to be John Cena. But John Cena was the guy who did more Make-A-Wishes than like the other top 3 people put together, and didn't do press for it. He would just go do them.
Well, did you see
Right.
did you see that clip I posted, because I was talking about that in our Discord? The Nicole Byers clip where she was talking about working with John Cena. And so she
I
was
think I did, but I forgot it.
so she was talking to him about like, well, you know, doesn't it bother you when people do the no, I don't see you, because she was trying to commiserate because of the nailed it thing. He's like, no, like they're just trying to connect with you. And she'd be like, people would be like, you know, the only reason I finished this course is because I wanted to meet you, like John Cena. And he'd be like, oh, I'll meet you. And he would like leave the set and come down and like talk to him when he didn't have to do like any of that stuff. But I also wanted to say, so I saw a similar incident with a kid at a show. So I was at an AEW show, and a kid ran up to like the barricade with a WWE title belt when Evil Uno had like won an ROH match. He wanted Evil Uno to sign it, and he had like the pin and everything, and Evil Uno just kind of, you know, walked over to him and, you know, kind of like put his hand on his head and like, look, you know, I think he didn't sign it, so he's just like, look, I can't sign a WWE belt. But he talked to him.
Yeah.
Like he stopped and,
that's-
he interacted with him, and like he wasn't a dick about it. He was just like, look, buddy, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he could probably, I don't know if he did, but he could probably be like, hey, I'll take a picture with you. Like, you can even do something funny. You could be like, the kid could hold the WWE belt, and Evil could be like,
Well,
like, scowling, like,
it was a
"Yeah,
TV.
yeah,"
It was
like-
a TV taping, so he had to like haul
Oh.
ass.
Yeah, it's
I
it's
see.
one of those time things.
Yeah, but he
But
he did,
again,
but he at least he interacted, is I think the
yeah.
Well, that's a situation like if like the live event staff has any like sense to them. And I think that sometimes has been the case. Like that kid, like someone will come to that kid and his family and be like, you want to like go meet a wrestler, talk to a wrestler for like 10 minutes afterwards, or like between like intermission or whatever like that. And then you bring that family to back, and maybe you have like one of the wrestlers be like, hey man, like Evil, it's like, look, I was on a time thing and I couldn't take a picture, but let's talk. And you have the wrestler just interact with them for like a few minutes, and that's something that like a kid would love,
Well, even we were talking when Shad and I went to that convention, and it's been years now, 2021. Aleister Black got lost, and this mother and son, I don't know if they knew who he was, but they were going to the convention. He was lost, and they helped him get there. And he just walked up to the table, didn't have to. He bought them VIP packages.
Yeah. Here's the thing that cracked me up about that is they didn't realize who he was. He just said he was looking for it, and they're like, oh, well, that's where we're heading, come with us, and walked him up there. And then whenever they got there, and he went right up to the table and said, give them the 2 VIP packages on me, which were like, what, $175 a piece?
Yeah.
And then he went over to his table like, oh, that's who that is, because they just didn't know who he was. It's just like, that's that's a quality thing to do. But
I think like leaning down, letting the kid take a picture, that takes 5 seconds of your time. Like it wouldn't have
been a big deal.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a big deal, and no one would have necessarily cared, except for the fact that CM Punk again has held himself up on a pedestal.
Well, and
so when he does something like that, it's like,
that was a narrative.
What the hell?
Well, that's also a narrative that his ball washers, after it was obvious he was going to show up, then it was like, well, it's not about politics. He's doing it for the fans. He's not even there for 5 seconds, and he's shoving a kid away.
Screw you, kid. A kid. Screw you.
Yeah. Come back when you got some money, kid.
Yeah, it just kills me.
You share a bank account with your mom.
Someone made that joke.
I know.
I think someone made the joke. It's like, oh yeah, ironically, this kid also shares a bank account as well.
Like, look, I didn't mind it. The only time that I did not sign things for people whenever I was doing stuff was when it would have interfered with what was actively going on in the ring at the time. Like at that point, I'd be like, no, I'll get you later, but I don't want to distract from them doing their thing.
I know Kamala, not later in life, but when kayfabe was stronger.
Kamala.
And like he is in Mid-South and stuff. Yeah, he said like, yeah, people would come up and ask me for autographs, and he's like, I would just pretend like I didn't know what they were talking about because I didn't speak English. That was how I got out of doing autographs, to stay in character.
Yeah.
Well,
but he should have just done him a character. He could have just been like,
ooh. He just takes the pen and draws like a big thing, like draws whatever the body paint is on it or something.
My 2-year-old,
or take a bite out of the photo.
My 2-year-old, she colors, and it's just like pen or crayon or whatever all over the paper. It's like he could have just done that. But that's also another thing. It's like, I can't. I'm working, kid.
Yeah, but at least
in reality, it's like I'm working. Like, oh, I don't know what this is.
But I think that's at least a story, though.
Yeah.
And I think
could totally
clever.
do that.
I think it's clever. So then we get the whole apology thing. So then they play that. They didn't play it on TV for SmackDown, but then they played
it right before SmackDown in the arena on the screen.
So then he comes out, and this segment was just cringe. I don't know from top to bottom. I don't know who this segment was for, because he comes out doing like the Thugonomics thing, and he does this god awful rap, but they're referencing stuff that's like 20 years old at this point. And let's be honest, which I don't get, is the Thugonomics thing got over because it was cringe and kind of dated at the time, and they're like unironically like trying to shit on it now like it's cringe. It's like, but it was cringe then. That's why people liked it. It
started as a joke
on a Halloween episode,
and Cena was decently good enough at it, so they ran with it. And then the gimmick evolved from there. But what was it we were saying earlier? It's like everything since CM Punk has come back, his gimmick has been redoing all the storylines.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Not as well,
No.
No,
but doing rehash
I think
of stuff.
I think
it's the member berries gimmick.
I think the Thugonomics.
It's member berries the gimmick.
I think the Thugonomics thing started because they were actually thinking about cutting him, and then he dressed up like Vanilla Ice on a Halloween episode of SmackDown and rapped to Stephanie, and they really liked it. And then they had him team up with because it was him, and I think it was like.
It was Aaron Aguilar.
Oh no, it was
no,
Bull Buchanan, because it was Bling Bling Buchanan and he was B2.
That was, I think, after the fact, because like initially it was Aaron Aguilar
who got hurt
like
immediately.
bodyguard. Yeah,
I don't even remember that one.
It was short lived.
He showed up like twice and he like tore his ACL or something and he was just done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then after that, it was like Bling Bling Buchanan.
Yeah. Because remember, people.
But then remember,
people at first on Smart thought it was just an avenue to get Buchanan over.
Yeah. But again, like we all lived through this. Like I remember this. I watched this at the time. Like it got over in an ironic fashion. It's like, this sucks, but it's like John Cena is like remarkably talented, and he actually made it work.
What did he used to? What did he used to pull out for D's nuts? Were they Mentos?
I don't remember.
Remember, he used to pull something out like it was like candy or something, and because it was for D's nuts.
I think it was Mentos. Now that I think about it.
Why am I remembering this dumb stuff?
He made it work to the point where it's one of those classic instances in wrestling where it's like, you're a heel and this is a dumb gimmick. But it started getting over to the point where it's like, well, damn, we got to turn you face. But then it's like, oh, he's actually really good as a face. And he got over and over. And I remember WrestleMania 20, I think it was WrestleMania 20, right? Where was it the U.S. title? He faced off against Big Show.
That was the same year that Eddie and Voldemort embraced at the end of the night. So
yeah, which was 20.
Yeah.
I'm contexting because I couldn't remember if that was 20 or what, but
it was 20, and he had like the opening match. Let me look up the card really quickly because I have it on my phone. Hold on, results. Yeah, John Cena defeated Big Show for the United States Championship. 9-minute match, and I remember watching this because I watched this live because I'm a big fan of Eddie and Voldemort.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta watch this, so I ordered the pay-per-view, so I watched it live, and I remember watching that. And outside of like Eddie and the other guy winning the title, like John Cena was by far the most over guy. And when he people were insane for him the entire match. And when he won the title, remember he even like lifted up Big Show for the FU, and everyone was like, oh my God. And people legit were like, whoa, because I mean Big Show's a big dude, and he lifted him up and did it. And I remember like when that happened, at that point even at this point, I had watched wrestling for like a decade or more. But at this point, I was like, that's going to be like your next big star, because that dude is like insanely over. Now, I had no idea that he would be as big as he became. Yeah. But
you knew he was on the way up.
I knew that dude, like that dude's going to be on the way up because he was awesome. But what were we going to say?
By the way, Matt, there was one other that was louder than that night. And that was the return of Taker, Texas Ranger. Because that was the night. That was after Kane, quote, buried him alive. And the lights go out, and you heard Paul Bearer, and everybody freaks out. And then Taker comes out, and the whole place is going crazy. It's like, but your point stands. It was one of the most over things of the night. We knew it was going up. I remember seeing on, I think it was SmackDown not long after that Cena had a custom U.S. title. It looked like crap, because it was just a black belt with U.S. in the middle of it, and it was the first spinner belt, but it was him getting in Kurt Angle's face, and he's like, no, I ain't that kid you faced back then. I'm a different man now. I'm a young, hungry son of a bitch now. And I'm like, okay, that's a bit over the top, but I appreciate the spirit you've got into it. And
you know what's...
Yeah.
So it got me thinking about Hogan's like heel run in the NWO, and I was like, he really like. I mean, it was a different era. Like nostalgia wasn't like what it is now, but I'm like, Hogan really didn't like rely heavily on nostalgia in the NWO. Like, could you imagine him in like '98, like doing like all this callback shit to like 1994 and like 1984 and like his like run with Andre in like 80? Like it would have
No,
been
he didn't.
so it would have been so like out of place back then. I don't know.
It
Like
Cena. Part of the reason why this has not worked is that Cena's like beyond washed. Like
beyond.
and he also it is like based on nostalgia, and he's kind of like half-assing it to me. It seems like he's half-assing it,
Mm-hmm.
which is sad because it's like this is like your final match. It's like you should maybe show a little more care, but whatever. But to bring up Hogan, that's a good example because Hogan was awesome as a heel, and that's his look. We know now, after the fact, we could see like all the politicking he did and the things that like he should not have gotten over as much as he did. But at the same time, part of the reason why Hogan worked, and this is something that I've like argued with people recently, and I think it's absolutely true. And we talked about it on the show like last week. It's like to be a really good heel, you need to show ass. You need to show your ass. And by that I mean sometimes you need to take the piss.
Yeah,
and he constantly did that. It's like
you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, he politicked, so he went over when he shouldn't have. But if you watch a lot of those matches, especially against like Luger, Goldberg, whatever like that, Sting, it isn't even like Hogan just dominates like a lot. That's not a lot of that. A lot of it's just him getting his ass kicked. It's like begging off whatever like that, and then of course like the NWO, like it in retrospect it's like this is as bad as like the Bloodline was. But I also sometimes like ironically like I'm ironically not as offended because back in the day, like they actually made the commentators, Tony and other people made a point to be like, the dastardly Hogan, like these assholes, like doing this. They weren't like, oh, Hulk Hogan, such a dominant shit, and just like every time they could, like they did with Roman for like endlessly, and it's like.
And there was
also that
the NWO was also like it's kind of like ECW, like it was almost cutting edge like culturally for its time frame. Like they really captured like that, because wrestling's usually like 5 years behind, which I find to be mostly true like pop culture wise. But there was a time in the 90s where I think all three promotions were current and maybe even a little ahead of the curve. And the NWO, because like there's so much about the NWO, like even I've had people watch it now, and like stuff like them paying for ad spots on the show to talk about how great they are. Like people that see that now is like, why don't they do that? Why doesn't wrestling do stuff like this now? This is cool.
So Hogan. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm sorry, Shad. You were talking.
Hogan's thing, like you said, it wasn't nostalgia. Hogan was a giant blowhard in that, and he would also. What was the other thing Hogan did in a lot of cases is Hogan would back up like a chicken shit a lot. Mm-hmm. Sting shows up, Hogan is wet in his tights. Luger is standing tall in the ring. Hogan will not get in the ring. Luger calls out. He goes, "No, I've won my title shot. I want it here tonight." And Hogan's like, "No. You don't get that tonight. That's not going to happen tonight. You'll get it whenever I say it." Like, it's all blowhard stuff. It's all big chest, puffed up bully blowhard stuff. And it is classic heel stuff. It is classic. I am vulnerable and I don't want anybody to see it kind of thing.
Which he did it exceptionally well. He was a great heel. But and I'm not taking credit away from him, but it's like, well, you should, because you should be a great heel, because you certainly like worked with a lot of great heels in your time, and you came up even in the territories where you saw all this. So it's like this should have been drilled into your head, like, yeah, when you're like a heel, it's like the basis, like you again.
And he obviously
show ass.
The other thing with Hogan though is you can tell in some of those matches he's having fun doing it too. Like he likes.
Oh yeah. Well, he would show ass and be a chicken shit to the point where we talked about this on the show before, where it's like he'd bow out and like there'd be an old lady in the crowd like want to hit him with a purse, and he'd jaw jack with her, and then she like hits him with the purse, something like that. And he's like runs away, like ah, my
Do
God.
that to
like,
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the classic, like a heel jaw jacking
And you know
with
what's-
like an old lady, a little kid, somebody in the stands, and then they do something, and they're like, oh, like they beg off, whatever, like that. Like that's classic. But it gets, what's the whole point? You got to engage the crowd. Like it gets the crowd engaged.
I think it's also
Yeah.
sad that we were talking about stuff like Aged in a Cage back then. And when you look at it now, like I think like Savage and Hogan were like in their early 40s and late 30s for that, and we were saying that it's like, wow, they were spring chickens compared to like, you know, Cope and Moxley and Punk and Cena.
That's about where
No.
Mox is now.
No, but
No,
Edge is
let me-
50 though. Edge kind of
Yeah.
Edge cranks
Yeah.
it in the other direction though.
Yeah.
Let me actually look. Let me look at this. So because, okay, so Starcade. This wasn't necessarily Educade, but like I think like Starcade '96 was Piper versus Hogan. Okay. Let me see how old.
Piper would have
So
been
90
like I'm gonna guess Hogan was 41 and Piper was like 46.
Piper okay, see, Piper says he was born in 1954. So in '96, he would have been like 42 years old. Am I doing the math right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hogan was 53, so he would have been 43. Both men, Starcade '96. And even back then, people were like, "Oh, like the two old guys." Even though like that actually, I think that actually reasonably sold well,
No, it
or
did.
there was interest in that. But 42, 43, both guys younger than Cena and Punk are right now for this Night of
and,
Champions
like
match.
not even close. Like because I also like I look at it and I'm the same age as them now. Well, I'm a couple years younger than Punk. I don't quite know how. I think I'm a couple years younger than Cena too. But it's like I just look at it and I'm just like, man, guys, like I feel tired watching you because like I just like it just I know what you know what the next morning feels like when you do stuff in your 40s.
So the guy I used to wrestle with, J.R. Rock. J.R. Because I was talking to him the other day. And I said to him, I said, J.R., what was it that... Like, I'm not questioning. Obviously, you hang it up whenever you're ready to hang it up. That's always the thing. But what made this the time for you? And he said, it wasn't that I couldn't go in the ring. I could still go. I said, I know you could still go. He had worked out his style to be very good for him and do what he needed to. He said, but the problem is it was taking me longer and longer to recover every time until it was taking me most of a week to recover from it. And he's like, I just can't keep doing this. I was like, I appreciate that. Like that's a level of self-awareness a lot of people don't ever put together.
That's what I tell
mean-
people that like are a lot younger and they're like, oh, it must be off when you're over 40. I'm like, no, it's like I can do anything I did in my 20s. I'll pay for it the next day, but like I can still do pretty much whatever I did in my 20s without much repercussion until the morning. But
I work out several times a week. I try to keep myself in good shape. I feel like I am in pretty decent shape, but again, time is undefeated. Like a month ago, I was in Home Depot getting some stuff, and I had my oldest daughter. She's 5.5, and she wanted for whatever reason she's like, I want a piggyback ride, and it's like, okay, we're in Home Depot, like buying some stuff. Why do you want to? So anyway, I got down on like one knee to like, all right, climb on my back, do it, and that was a bad decision. Like I should have did a better form, but like I did it and like I raised up, but I was on one knee, and I like pulled a muscle in my ass, like I pulled like a glute into my thigh, and immediately I'm like, oh no, that's wrong. I gotta put you down. I gotta put you down. And I'm like, like walking around, and that hurt for like 3 days. And my daughter, God love her, she's sweetheart. She's like, I'm sorry, Daddy. And I'm like, it's not your fault, Daddy. Daddy's over 40, over 40
Yeah.
now. Which, by the way, if you have kids, Chad, you would know this. Never tell them your true age. I made that mistake. And now my daughter, like all the time, will tell people like my dad's X number of age. I'm like, you don't have to tell people that. You don't have to tell
Shut up,
people
you
all the
narc.
time." Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife was the smart one because she was like, "Oh, I'm 100," and it's like she's not obviously, but she just like made up a number like, "Oh, I'm 100," and so now my daughter is like, "Oh, my mom's 100." It's like people know it's like that can't be true. But my wife was smart. I was not. I told my daughter my accurate age, and she's like telling everyone, like the postman. No, not really, but you know, it's just
Cool
like
it.
anyone.
Yeah.
A random person
Cool it.
in the grocery supermarket. It's like my dad is X. I'm like, you don't have to tell people that.
Cool it,
Anyway.
narc.
I,
Cool it. You know, it's
My
Daddy pulls
painful-
muscles now when you want to give him a piggy when you want to
My
piggyback ride to pull
painful-
muscles.
My painful reminder is like when you go to someone's house and it's like 8:30 at night, like, hey, let's get a pizza. And like, yeah, and then it's like, and then you eat a couple pieces, like, oh no, like the acid reflux is gonna be real bad. I
Oh.
don't have any Tums.
For me as a parent, it's my wife. Like we finally put the kids to bed. Let's it's Friday, Saturday night, and maybe it's late, and it's like, oh, did we start a movie? And I look at my watch, like it's 10 o'clock. We can't start like a 2-hour movie. You kidding me? Like back in the day, in my 20s, would be like, yeah, whatever. We'll stay up to like 4 in the morning watching movies, whatever. Like now, it's like if I don't start that movie by like maybe 9, forget it.
Well, it
Forget
doesn't help that movies are so long now because it's like it's 10 o'clock. You want to watch movies? Like,
Well,
we'll
that's-
be up till 1 a.m. if we put a movie on.
so
People have gotten stupid with that. It's like Marvel movies, like 3 hour. Why am I watching like 3 hours for like what Eternals? No, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that.
the age thing that I struggle with, it's not like I don't have the problem like Brad said with food. Like I don't typically have that problem, but the thing is I cannot do what I did in my 20s. Which is why I struggle to work out, is because like all this stuff I know how to do and I enjoyed, I can't do anymore. I can't work the heavy bag. Why? Because I'll throw my arm out of socket. I can't run. My left knee and my left hip are shot. What am I supposed to do? Right? And I'm working on figuring that out. Because if you hate whatever it is you do, you won't keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find something I won't hate. But yeah, paying for it, and you keep paying for it, and you're going to have limitations on it. And where Cena got away from wrestling for so long, he lost the bump callus. So, yeah, he's just not going to be as good because
He's still in fantastic shape, especially for
just-
his age.
I think he
But-
just. Well, I would actually say, having watched clips of this match, I think Punk might be more washed than him. Because Punk was blown the fuck up through this whole match.
Punk has less excuse because Cena, over the last like how many years, it's not. Compare like when Punk came back. I know he's had injuries, bad injuries, but compare like when Punk came back to wrestling in the same time frame for Cena. Like Punk has wrestled obviously more than Cena has.
He doesn't. But the thing you have to keep in mind though is Cena is gifted athletically and Punk is not. So I think that's why Cena's going to hold on longer. And I think part of the problem with Punk now is he only wrestles like once a month or so, sometimes twice. And for his age and stuff, like I get the injury concern stuff, but I think he has to be working, or he's like, I think it's harder when you're 46 to stay in ring shape if you're only wrestling like once a month, sometimes twice.
there's a difference between being in good shape and being in ring shape. And ring shape is a very specific thing where your body's used to getting beat up like that. So,
And I do wonder if Punk blew up bad because of the environment change. But I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know what the arena's like or if it's air conditioned or not. But I kind of wondered that. But no. So the match is terrible, obviously, because anything Cena does currently is terrible. But so there's a clip though I wanted to discuss because so Seth Rollins and his crew interfere, and like 50,000 other people. because I guess we're gonna do Punk and Rollins as like the next feud because sure. And
Again,
he does this dive over the top rope, pretty much almost dies because he overshoots him, and then Braun and Bronson go to, I hate that they need to figure that out because that's really hard to say. They go to do this table spot, where they do the double lift and they just put him through the table, and it's a disaster because Punk doesn't go up like at all.
yeah.
And then
Breaker and Bronson Reed are working in tandem. Like, they're lifting at the same time and everything. So if there's 3 pieces to it and 2 pieces are in tune with each other, then what's the issues with the third piece?
when I take it, because you've been a worker, so I take it, if you're expecting someone to go up, you're going to treat that different than if you're expected to lift them on your own.
Yeah, if someone sandbags you, then you're just not getting them up. I had one guy who I was like, he's like, well, what are you going to be able to do to me? I'm like, dude, if I can get you up on my shoulders, we're good. Here, let me try that. And I went to just go, we're in the locker room. I went to go put him on my shoulders, and he did not go up at all. And I was like, God, dude, you're going to give me a hernia. All right, well, I guess I'm just hitting you a bunch this match, okay?
Well, I know Jim Cornette said that when he was in OVW that Bobby Lashley almost killed him on a body slam because Cornette's like, well, I go up real easy for moves for guys. And Lashley almost like just dumped him on his head. And he was like, well, I've never had someone go up easy for me. Everyone sandbags me. So I was like trying to lift you dead. And Cornette just went up for him.
Which that boggles my mind. For what's supposed to be a group of professionals, no one going up for Lashley on a body slam or something blows my mind.
Well, you know why I don't get it just from like a practical perspective. So if you're going to body slam me, if I sandbag you, even though you can lift me, the chances of me like pulling something or like tearing a muscle is going to go up exponentially. So why wouldn't I just go up for you and make it as easy on myself as possible?
It's easier all around if you go up for it.
Because you said
and
you worked with
Ronnie Roberts,
and you said like you didn't even do shit, and he would just like
I went to I called a sequence with him. I said, okay. I said, all right, scoop slam, hip toss, scoop slam, back Russian leg sweep, pinfall. I went to go hip toss. Hip toss was easy. And here's the thing, for doing a hip toss, usually guys post off for it in order to be able to do it. I was kind of weird in that respect is because I was 6'3". I was a big dude, and I could do a hip toss unassisted. I could just go over for it. But I do it with Ronnie, and he goes over for it super easy. I'm like, okay, cool, that tracks. And then whenever I went to do the scoop slam and pick him up, I went and I lifted and I went through the motion, and it's like I was just waving my arms, is how easily he went. And I was like, I did that, and I almost lost my spot because I was like, oh my God, that was so easy. And I pulled him up, we do the back Russian leg sweep, and I float over, and he kicks out at 2. He goes, now what? And I went, give me a second, because it was such an easy thing to do, it took me off guard. Like, I never had anybody go that easy for it.
Well, you even said, like, when you worked with Larry D, you said, like, the manager, like, snuck up on you, and you turned and looked at them, and he, like, cowered away from you.
That was Ronnie's manager.
Oh, but you were just, like, the fact that your reaction to doing that is, like, oh, this is what working with, like, people that are actually good is like in the back of your head. Like,
people, yeah, it's the, how can I phrase? Hey, these people are willing to back up from a baby face, and that's really different. Because so many places, the cool heels don't want to do that. You turn around and point at the manager, and the manager's walking around with a weapon in his hand. He's going to be like, don't you do that. I did it with this one. And the guy, because part of this guy's gimmick is he'd carry a kendo stick around with him. And he would never use it. It was always the implied threat that he had it, but he didn't hit people with it. And I turn around and point at him. I turn around and I see him coming. I'm like, you better back up. And what does he do immediately? Is he flips his hands up. He's still holding the stick between these fingers like, oh, no, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry. And I was just like, I felt it made me feel really powerful as a wrestler doing that. Why? Because he's going with it, and he's showing ass, and it's all coming together. And that match was great. It was one of the best matches I ever had that nobody saw. So, you know, what the hell?
So my takeaway from this, though, because he didn't do anything on Raw, I don't think. So my takeaway from this is kind of like, well, what do you do with Punk from here? Because you kind of like, this has been kind of a problem with the Cena run, is like the faces he comes across like kind of come out of it the worse for wear and like cold, and like what do you do with Punk now? Because he's kind of cold. Like,
Oh, I can tell you, because they did do something with Punk. Punk shoved Gunther. So I guess, Punk just lost, but his reward for that is that they're going to put him in a title program with Gunther, which he's facing Goldberg, right? Which I'm not, until it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that they're not going to put the title on Goldberg.
well, they always put the title on Goldberg because
Yeah.
because he always comes back. I mean, he seems worse for wear this time, but he always comes back, even if I don't think they start out with the intention like, oh wait, like this is like he actually is like a star and is over. Like, we need to put the belt back on him. Like, I always feel like that's what happens when they bring Goldberg back.
Look, Meltzer had a commentary because Goldberg came out there and did like a pose down against Gunther, and Gunther's a big guy, but Meltzer, who for all the jokes, people are like, oh, you're on AEW's payroll. It's like, actually Meltzer has exceedingly
He tries to be fair.
Tries to be fair, but I felt he's been a little like overly fair to the WWE for the last.
He's kind of that Double or Nothing weekend. He said like, well, and it kind of mirrors popular. Somebody's like, AEW really came out of this and looked like the face, which they haven't done for a long time, and like that's gonna, like I feel like he's kind of shifting back again because like the WWE's been not good this year.
Yeah, he's kind of been shifting back, but at the same time, it's like he's been very exceedingly fair to the WWE. Yeah. So being like, you just like you hate the WWE. It's like, no, he should hate the WWE. He doesn't.
It's never good enough. People say that. It's like he's like, and I feel like sometimes I think he's off with his AEW criticism, but it's like when they screw up, he calls them out for it. He doesn't
let stuff skate.
Yeah. He's a far cry better than Brian Alvarez, who's like Mystico. Like, they should have video packages explaining him, and then it's like they did.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you doing, Brian? Like they actually did.
But
they did.
But the things that they get mad at Meltzer for, I think, are unfair, because a lot of times they're like, well, you're just being like a shill or whatever, and like you look at the clip and he's like, well, historically this doesn't work, what they're doing.
Yeah.
With WWE. Yeah. And like usually he's proven right, but like people get really mad when he says that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like it'll be a clip and he's just going through historical examples. It's like, why are you mad at him about this?
Yeah. But I preface that because Meltzer, when they had the Gunther Goldberg stare down, Meltzer came out and it was kind of anti WWE, where it's like, Goldberg looks like really old and small compared to
Gunther. Got a lot of health problems.
Also, Goldberg walking down the ramp,
like almost 60.
You can tell his hips are jacked.
No, his hips,
because he's having to walk with his feet pointed out at 45-degree angle.
Look, even I will say, like, when was this, like 2020, like the pandemic, when he won the title off the Fiend? I think it was 2020. Yeah. So that's 5 years, a little over 5+ years. When he came out and he won the title for the Fiend, look, was he in the best shape, like in terms of like cardiovascular? Probably not, but physically he looked like in great shape. He's still big and jacked. 5 years, like he's in his 50s now, so it's also like you don't know how 5 years can affect a person, especially if they have some sort of health issue, like a musculoskeletal issue that maybe it affects their ability, or
I think his hips and his knees are fucked.
Yeah, get in the gym, whatever. But I remember, like, since we mentioned it, like Piper, I remember like he, for like, let's say 96, 97, like was still in decent shape.
He had a fake
But
hip
then he had
though.
like the hip surgery. Yeah, he had the hip surgery, and then after that, it's like he did not look like he was in
And
shape at all. He
this
looked
was like
old. He
this
looked
was like
flabby.
and
Yeah.
this was like 90s hip surgery. This isn't like today where you can like be back probably wrestling in 4 months after like a hip operation.
Yeah.
Dustin Rhodes had what? Didn't he have both knees
Yep.
replaced?
Mm-hmm.
And he's still out there working at like a certain level.
Yeah.
You know, he's been like Ring of Honor tag champs with Sammy Guevara for like 300 days or something silly. But like, yeah, he could still like and move pretty good.
I mean,
You know,
even
Brian Cage, I think just got his knee like scoped and replaced. Like that's a guy who maybe he'll have like maybe he's not going to do like flips, but
like even Bailey's injury, which I don't think she's ever fully recovered from, like that
no.
probably would have been career ending 20 years ago.
She said that she hasn't been the same since that. And
She says it still
look,
hurts, I think.
I know that they'll look and they'll be like, "Oh, Goldberg's a star." This is being billed as his retirement match, so I gotta be honest with you. I just got this gut feeling that Goldberg's not going over here.
I don't know. They do weird
honestly,
stuff.
he shouldn't. They do weird stuff, I know, but this is my gut feeling that that's not happening, and it's the retirement match so that he can be done. Okay, and people quit asking. No, I had my retirement match. I'm done. And frankly, from the way he was walking down the ramp, whenever my knees were at their most painful, I was doing that kind of 45-degree angle walk because it hurt less. It was not good for me, but it hurt less. And I had everyone in my family would call me out on it whenever I'd start doing that because I would start walking like that because my knees hurt less. And it's just like, nope, got to straighten that back out. Got to straighten that back out. And I had to go. I didn't do physical therapy for it, but I basically made myself lose the habit of doing it. Here he is doing it. Dude, ain't no way he should be going over. And I kind of think that the guy's self-aware enough to say, no, I need to not be going over.
But I think Trish and Sarah had an interesting, because I listened to their show today. They had an interesting little side talk because they were talking about how WWE's kind of in a rough spot because they have all these old guys on top and all these like the younger talents that probably would be more interesting are kind of pushed to the side right now. And that's interesting that they brought up like that was AEW's problem until about February. And then they kind of shuffled some of those guys out there with some injuries. And now like AEW's doing better because they have these younger wrestlers getting spotlight.
Yeah. The only one that I would say doesn't fit that particular paradigm is going to be Orange Cassidy, but dude's out with a torn pec right now. Like,
yeah, he's
people love Cassidy, and Cassidy's 40, 41 right now, I think, and the dude can still, I mean, just absolutely go. But other than that, yes, Copeland not being in, it was such a weight off my chest whenever Copeland was rotated out of that.
They actually brought up what the tipping point for them was, and I forgot about this. But when they had the Death Riders and the Learning Tree team up in that 12-man tag, the second they said that, like, oh man, I remember us bitching up a storm about how stupid that was. And that was like a low point of AEW. Trish and Sarah brought that up. Is like a low point recently for AEW.
I hate on the Death Riders. People,
I still hate
hating on the Death Riders. They kind of turned the corner. Like they actually have a lot better. I'm not gonna say it's like because they're not doing tree stuff or whatever. I feel like I don't know if Tony Khan.
It's because
they're criticisms or whatever.
They're like a video game boss now. Like they're not the driver of the story. Like because like the story is really more the Bucks, Paige, and Swerve, and the Death Riders. Like John Moxley now is just the obstacle to be overcome. Like he's not like the driving force of the story anymore.
I I have hope that the course is clear. I want Tony Khan to do what he did for like the first 2, 3, at least before like the brawl and stuff happened
Yeah.
with Punk and everything. I want him to,
Yeah.
because we talked about this on the show before, where AEW is kind of like they were predictable, but it was the good predictable because it's like,
Giving
uh,
you what you wanted.
yeah, oh, I want this. Are you gonna give me that? And it's like, am I? And then you have to wait like even a while, like 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But then they give you what you want, and it's like, I got what I wanted. So it's like they're predictable, but you got the payoff that you were expecting, that they kind of hinted at, and then you got the payoff. So I'm hoping, because AEW, I think, the quality has been like ridiculous in 2025. I think storyline wise, and we talked about it on the show, I've talked about it, but it would have made sense to have Darby win the title. But I think everything that they're leading to, it's like the sense is Hangman. This is Hangman's redemption arc, and now you go with Hangman, and hopefully Hangman can get like a good run. I've gone back and forth, but I kind of am at the opinion where it's like you don't need. I understand keeping the AEW title strong, but you don't necessarily need to be like, here's a 12-month reign. You don't even need that. But at the same time, if Hangman's going to get another reign, I think you should have him hold a belt for like a while. And a while could be like 6 months. Like it doesn't need to be like here's a Roman Reigns level reign. But I don't think it's like have the belt for 2 months and then you have him lose it. Like I think you can have him keep it for a while. But I'm kind of hoping like this Hangman, because I think Hangman can be like the face of your company, not in many other ways, not just like a face and wrestling lingo, but you can so much you can do with him.
He really was, and like Meltzer had talked about when they got rid of Punk, that Page had actually done as well on top as Punk did, and even better in some circumstances. I think the problem with Page is they kind of lost the plot with him. I think the Swerve stuff was good like last year, but between like that, they've really kind of lost the plot with him slowly over time. And I don't think his heel turn was okay, but I don't think it quite worked. And so I don't think you don't want to really boo him at this point.
Swerve or Page?
Page.
Yeah, he's kind of swung back. You can do a lot with him. Like I think you can do a lot. But I want to go back to something you said. Like I don't mind Cope. People hate on Cope, but it's like people forget. It's like he actually was busting his ass and putting on good matches before he decided to jump off a cage and break his ankle horribly against Malachi Black. Before he did that, he was awesome, and when he came back, like it wasn't good.
But he was appropriately placed on the card, though. I think my problem with him really became when he was put in the Moxley program, and it just was not good.
Yeah, that's my problem with Copeland was the fact that I didn't want Adam Copeland to be the AEW champion. I didn't want him in the program to be the AEW champion. And so everything that they were doing in order to build drama and make it look like he could win, I was pushing back on all of it. Like, no, take this back. I want something else.
I did hear, though, some people postulated that the Death Riders angle or AEW itself really started turning the corner when they had it was after like I think the pay-per-view, but the Moxley Edge or Adam Copeland the Dynamite
death match,
no DQ, death match thing where Mox got the barbed wire, and that's barbed wire, like the nail baseball bat stuck in his flesh. People were like, after that, everything turned around. And it's like you're like, really? But then you think, and it's like, oh shit! Like after that, the Death Rider stuff like kind of did turn around. That actually was really
it was still pretty.
Kind of became more compelling. It was
still pretty bad after that.
I think
that's where. But that Dynamite is kind of like where their ducks were in a row. Like I don't think that match was particularly good, but that's where the other stuff. That's where the stuff around it, like that's where I think the Death Riders became less of a problem is the product around it got better and it became less of a detriment because it just became a part of the show you don't like in a segment you didn't like versus like you don't like 80% of what you're seeing and that's what's dominating the show. Like it just became
Yeah.
less of a overall.
I have an unpopular opinion because I like the guy and I'm sorry he's injured, but I also feel like Death Riders kind of got a little better when Pac got injured and he's not around. And I only say that because then it became like Claudio and maybe Wheeler Yuta and occasionally like Marina. So it's like there's not as many guys so it's like you can kind of counteract Yuta, especially we saw because we reviewed like Grand Slam like the previous week. It's like Yuta is kind of treated not as a joke, but he's like you're like the young boy. We're gonna like beat the shit out of. Everyone's gonna beat the shit out of Yuta.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna take all the heat.
He's good for that. He's good in that role.
He
but
is.
Claudio,
I mean, he got Willow beats him up regularly. So,
Yeah, but-
and nothing against Willow. I love Willow.
oh, Willow's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked it where it's like if you neutralize Claudio, then it's like you have Marina and Yuta, who could still be threats, but it's like you can counteract them. When they had like Pac 2, and it's like Pac and Claudio, it's like they're like your top threats outside of Mox, of course. So it's not to make a bloodline comparison, but it's like you eliminate the Usos, and then now you get what Solo Sakai, like who cares? Like, but not that you don't care, but I mean, I kind of liked when Pac wasn't involved because I don't know. I'm sorry that he's injured. I hope he fast recovery, but I would hope that after All In, the Death Rider stuff is kind of cycling down. If they still want to do, I think that there's still stories they could do with Mox against Darby or Mox against Eddie, both Eddie Kingston.
I would like to see Mox with a little bit of a break.
You probably should, but
the
I think you could do both of those storylines.
The problem I have with I've always had the Death Riders and where I'm tired of Moxley is like this is just a Blackpool Combat Club with a different name, and that's why it's felt so tired.
Yeah,
because I have the same problem. Like I know the Bucks were gone for a while, but they came back like doing the same thing, and I'm already tired of them.
Look, with the stipulation on them for All In, it's going to change. And
yeah,
forgive me, but I called that last week or the week before.
It just
I agree with you, Brad. I agree with you. But when they add that stipulation, it's like, well, if they lose, they're no longer EPs. Then I was like, hold on, let's pause because they may understand. It's like you're just doing the same gimmick that didn't entirely work last year, but the fact that they're like, oh, the stipulation, I'm thinking they may be like, okay, that they're now they're gonna break and like you may see a Bucks refresh.
Yeah, but like I just think Moxley needs to do something different because like I just feel like he's been doing the same shit for like 3 years now, and it's just boring.
I would guess that if we don't see Mox take a break immediately, we are going to see him down cycle and be paying back everybody that he went over, or a lot of them.
Well, again, you could do to the end of the year, you could do storylines with Darby and with Eddie Kingston, and you don't even need you obviously don't need the title involved with that. But I have a question for you guys since we're talking about the Elite. I guess it's twofold question. Like one, well, it's not twofold. I won't do twofold question. Like one, do you think Kenny is going to win against Okada to do the unified? Because I've seen some people say like, oh, Okada. They've postulated that Okada should win, and then you really push Okada.
So I think the problem with that logic is Kenny will lose more by losing than Okada will get by winning. Because the thing is, I also think, an unsung hero of their turnaround is Kenny being back, because Kenny is still
Mm.
their biggest star overall. And I think they've done a good job of protecting him. But like Okada, I think has turned it around a bit this year. But like I don't think Okada's been like the difference maker that Kenny is, and I don't think you can get Okada to a place where where he would be a difference maker for you, like Omega would be. So like I think in my worldview, because in my worldview, what I would do is I would have Omega win, and then I would probably start building off of Swerve and Page to probably Page and Omega again, or Swerve versus Omega. Like that's where I would go, because like I just think I just don't, because it's I think it's kind of analogous. I was just thinking, because I was thinking before you asked that, I was like, what do you do if your storyline's Punk and Rollins? Because like you're kind of like Punk is more of a difference maker than Rollins, but like no one really cares about Rollins. Like Rollins isn't going to make you money, and you've seen more than once if you put him too high up on the card, people tune out. It's like so like it's a that's a lesser version of Kenny and Okada, but I would do Omega, and I wouldn't even think twice about it.
I thought that where Triple H was going, because his crutches are like, factions. I thought that they were gonna like really push Rollins, and Rollins, the Rollins faction was gonna supplant the Judgment Day. Maybe in some respects it is, but it's like I don't see like the fire. People really excited for the Rollins faction.
No,
But
because because the problem is I shit on him way too much. Like the problem is it's like you can put as much lipstick as you want on it, but like it's still Seth Rollins at the end of the day, and like you're only ever gonna get so excited about him. And I honestly think like Paul Heyman, like he's been there forever. It's like I don't think that gets people excited either.
I think the problem also is like if you're gonna change up Rollins or have him do a faction, like have him actually have a different personality. If you're still gonna have him be like the weird fashion Joker, where it's like I'm gonna dress like I'm some sort of New York runway, and so like do like a Joker laugh, whatever like that. And it's like you're the same character you've been for like the last like 3 years.
He's still doing the
You just
freaking
now have
thing,
like
which
2 other guys, allegedly more, because allegedly they may bring up like Ethan Page and Ricky Ain't, but we'll see.
ain't.
I don't look. So
I
let me
like
go back.
that better.
Yeah, let me go back. Let me go back real quick, because I asked like, do you think Okada or Omega's gonna win? I saw someone on Twitter. If you don't know, like Keem, who you ever like follow him, like
Yeah.
he's actually a really good follow. He's really good, some insightful things, and he is for sure a true wrestling fan. Because I've seen him talk about Japanese stuff. He's not just going through the motions. Like he actually
Yeah,
knows his
he's
stuff.
he's
And
a dyed in the wool.
yeah, and he has sometimes he has some sometimes really funny stuff, sometimes really insightful things. And one thing he postulated that I had to pause, and I'm like, I think there's validity in this. And in one part it makes me sad, in one part like I understand it. But he's like, I think we're entering into basically the AEW post elite era,
Oh yeah,
where
I think
the
we've
elite
I
are
think
stepping
we've
back, and it's
I think we've technically been in that for about um I think post Danielson retirement has been post elite era. Like I think that's going to be the start of it.
I think I agree with that, but it's like, what do you define as the elite? If you define the elite as Omega and the Bucks certainly have like been taking a step back. If you put Page in that, I feel like no, like that Page is I think he's older now, but he's still like what, 32, 33. It's like you literally can get another decade out of Page, and you should get many more years out of him as your top guy, because I don't even know if he's at his peak in terms of wrestling, but he's fantastic across the board. Like when it's all said and done, Page, it's hard to gauge, and I don't even like being like Bucks greatest tag team of all time or in the contention, but they are. I
Yeah.
don't like saying that because they're still
active.
they're still active, and they could still be active in some significant form for the next like 5-10 years. But they've done so much already that it's like they need to be in the contention. But I don't like saying that for even people who like that contemporary. But Paige, when it's all said and done, he's going to be one of the very best of this generation, if not of all time. Or do you just consider Omega the buck? Omega, I feel like, again, he's getting older. He's like, what, 40, 41 at this point? And he's had injuries where it's like he's been out a while. So I agree with you, Brad. Like, he's a big star. Like, you should get as much as you can out of him while that. And they may do it because if they put they're going to consolidate the international and the United. Well, it's going to be the United title, the international and the continental. And now it's going to be the universal title. And they kind of intimated it.
United title.
United.
Yeah,
unified. Unified.
Yeah, unified.
Yeah, unified. It's going to be essentially a second world title. They're not trying to do a brand split, but you should have Kenny Omega be. I think you should push Kenny Omega as like effectively your world champion without being your world champion.
And I think, to me though, saying it's post elite too. Post elite can also be their presentation. So like the Bucks going down the card, like you can still have Kenny as your top guy, and it can be post elite because like the Kenny stuff and character he is now like is not elite Kenny. Like he's kind of more in the Japanese Kenny era. So I don't even necessarily I think he can still be your top guy, and I would still consider it post elite because he's doing like something completely like if you watched in 2021 and you came back now, like Kenny's like not the same character at all.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Like I actually think his current character is like some of the best stuff he's done, like as a character in the United States.
Even if you want to talk about post elite era, let's assume you include Paige in that. You have Swerve, you have Ospreay. Ospreay has yet to hold the world title, so you still have that. You could push. MJF had the title for a long time, but you could still like include MJF in that. You have Kyle Fletcher like as a guy coming up. Like there's actually like a lot of talent you could do. Because his stock has certainly risen in recent time. But Bandito is a guy like you could actually bring up. We talked about Grand Slam. AEW is in a unique position because, and I saw some discussion about this last like couple weeks, but WCW featured luchadors, and we a lot of people like us, we fell in love with luchadors or with certain people, and we had appreciation for Lucha Libre because we saw that in WCW. But WCW kind of treated them as jokes, right? Whereas AEW is a little more respectful, and they've actually presented these guys as stars, and they haven't even they've featured them less in the sense that it's like, here's like a random like, 6-man match where you're seeing like a bunch of guys.
They don't water them down the same way either. Like they let them be.
They don't water them down. Yeah, but to the extent that they actually have lucha talent, they show them and they actually do feature them. I would say arguably more as stars, but you could actually in the post-elite era, you can have guys like Brick and reach that main event level. Bandito, obviously. We talked about Hologram. Like Hologram is a guy like I think he's still missing something, but he's a guy like you could easily put like the TNT title.
Yeah, he could.
I got like Hologram.
I wouldn't put him above like mid card, but even like, but I think they're starting to integrate the luchadors in more because like Hechicero joining the Callis family I think was a great addition, and that really gives him like a spot and a reason to push him.
Did he join or is he just like an associate?
No, he joined.
Yeah, he joined.
Oh, he outright said that. Yeah.
So, and I mean, like, he's also like a guy I don't necessarily think I would main event, but he could upper mid card. Like, I think he has more of the qualities than like Hologram does.
Yeah.
And he's much better. This is really like gonna sound weird to say, but he's much better in the ring than than Hologram is, and I still think Hologram's really good.
I agree. Let me look up how old Hechicero is.
He's probably like in his late 30s.
He is. They don't say. Well, his debut was February 15th, 2001. So you're talking about like a 24-year veteran. So even if he did it,
So he'd be like 40. If he got in at like 16, he'd be 40 right now.
yeah, even if he got in really young at like 16, he's like, so if he got in, let's say he got in at like 18 or 20, he's like early 40s, early to mid 40s.
That's pretty young for a luchador, though.
Yeah,
truth be told.
I would not put him as like your main guy, but yeah, like you could have a guy like him.
He could challenge for like the world title on like TV.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you could put like the TNT title maybe on him.
Yeah.
Or have him featured. You put him in
You could
tag team.
Like if Kenny's like your secondary champion, I think you could challenge for like a secondary belt.
Yeah.
But
you're gonna have a workhorse. You're gonna have the world title and the workhorse title.
Yeah.
Look, I think a guy like Roosh is an absolutely amazing talent. That's a guy like you could put the world title on, if not for the fact that he seems like he's
just
perhaps a prickly personality. So
he's a bit of a wild child. I think.
Yeah, you might have some misgivings about him. It's like I might put like a secondary title.
Roosh is a bit.
Be like, are you gonna behave?
Roosh is a bit too old school in a bad way, I would say.
It might be that he's a bit ingobernable, right?
In reality, yeah.
Yeah.
But so
I've seen some people argue that Andrade might be the first guy who goes from WWE to AEW to WWE to back to AEW, and I can actually maybe see it because he
was treated better.
I don't think he's very well used in WWE,
and I think of that group of guys. I mean, other than Miro had like a pretty good run in the middle of it that kind of fell off, but like I think Andrade put in pretty solid work for most of his run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of that batch of people, Andrade's the one you take back.
Because I wish I don't get WWE has to fill content up. I don't necessarily. I'm not saying you should put the world title on Andrade, but it's like, why isn't he like getting, just some ring time to like eat up your content? Like, why isn't he getting why aren't you having him come out like on the opener of SmackDown for like 12 minutes every other week?
Yeah, based upon how he was treated in NXT before he even left and went to AEW, it's like you could have him be like a solid mid-card guy.
Yeah.
Like he like you said, like you could have him have like a 12-minute match on like SmackDown or Raw with guys. And look, I personally don't think that Austin Theory is very good, but it's like you could have Andrade against Austin Theory, and Andrade can like drag Austin Theory to like a decent 10-minute match, probably.
Or like Andrade and someone
good.
versus like DIY or the Motor City Machine Guns, like, or even do like, because I think I really liked it. It was on an episode of Rampage. I think it was like him and versus Darby Allin versus like Sammy Guevara, like as a triple threat. That was pretty good. Like, I just think I just don't get like I said, I would not like necessarily even put a belt on him, but like, why aren't you have 3 hours on SmackDown, eat some of that time up with him?
Because they keep doing the same stuff to fill their time up, is what they do over and over again. They keep doing the exact same things to eat that time.
Yeah.
I just looked it up. Andrade he's turning 36 this year. So he's much younger than I actually thought he was. I would have given him like 3 or 4 years. So he still has like, let's say his contract ends, he's like 37. It's like he could re-sign with AEW and still like work at a very high level. He signed a 3-year contract. Let's say he's 37. Signs a 3-year contract. By the time he's 40, he can still like do quite well.
Yeah.
I could actually see him returning of all the guys, because he's a guy who, unlike Malachi Black or Miro, like he seemed like he probably
They did
he
business
obviously
on
had
the
to
way
leave.
out. But like that's the
Yeah.
one thing, like, because that's why I always say, like, I don't necessarily think it would happen, but I could see Cody going back at some point because they did business on the way out. Like that's the one thing. That's one thing I don't get with a lot of people. Like, even if Andrade didn't want to be there, like, he got treated really well on the way out, and it's because he did business.
Hmm.
The only thing I would say that would be a sticking point for Cody is if he shows back up, he's not going to roll back in as the conquering hero. He's not going to show back up
Yeah.
and be in a management position. It's like, nope, you're another dude on a card. That's it.
I more mean,
Yeah.
like, he never, like, they always try to bait him into saying bad stuff about AEW, and he's always like, no, like, I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
he won't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, I guess, but at the same time, he has his own podcast now, and every episode, he'll throw some bullshit out where it's like, oh yeah, Bullet Club, I invented them, or some like nonsense like
That's-
that, where it's like,
that's-
this is clearly like the biggest fucking lie.
Yeah,
And
but
I
that's,
just, like,
that's him, though.
every time he put, like, I've actually done this a couple times now on Twitter, and I've actually got 100 likes. I'm not, hyping myself up, but I'm just saying, like, he said outlandish shit like that, and I just post a clip that I forget even who did the article, but it was a interview someone did with Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson said that, and that's
Yeah,
that's the like the headline of the article. It's like, Bryan Danielson, Cody Rhodes taught me how to lie.
No,
Loves that.
that's kind of a misquote.
I post
because
that.
He
I
said,
post that. No, I posted a couple times now after, like, the outlandish bullshit he's posted, and I get hundreds of likes because people are just like, people know it's like, you're just full of shit.
that,
Come on.
that,
Oh,
that,
I was the Bullet Club leader.
that,
Fucking never.
that
Like, I
headline,
watched Bullet Club all the time, and you were like part of it. Never were the fucking leader. No one
That-
gave a shit about you.
that headline's inaccurate, though, because he didn't say Cody taught him how to lie. It's he taught him how to enjoy lying as an art form.
Oh, I see.
Like, so it is kind of, it just takes the nuance out of it. But so we have one last topic we wanted to hit, because came through yesterday, and I was really sad, but Jim Shooter passed away, who
Yeah.
if you're in the comics world, you probably know him best as, like, the editor-in-chief of Marvel, probably in what I would consider their best period creatively and financially. But I think what people don't realize is Jim Shooter is kind of a savant, because he was sending DC stories that they were using when he was 13 years old, and they hired him on when he was 14, like, as a full-timer.
So I'm gonna go pull this stuff up right now because I was reading Mark Wade's post about it. Age 13, Shooter wrote and drew stories of the Legion of Superheroes and sent them to DC Comics. February 10th of 1966, he received a phone call from the editor who wanted to purchase the stories and commissioned him to write Mort Weisinger, and commissioned Shooter to write Supergirl and Superman stories. He got a regular position on Legion, and had to wait until school. Shooter went and did that because
His dad was a
it went to go
worker.
help support his
Yeah.
family.
'Cause he bought
And
his, like he said, I think he said, because I read his first paycheck got that fixed the engine to the family car, so his dad didn't have to walk to work anymore.
yeah, and I met Jim Shooter this past March. If you didn't know, Jim Shooter passed away from esophagus cancer.
Yeah.
And you could tell it was taking a toll on him because he was getting thinner and looking more and more wan as time went by. And the thing that I appreciate, like, okay, Jim Shooter worked in DC, and it really kind of defined the Legion of Superheroes. And
They were, I think people don't realize. So there was a point in, like, the early 80s where the two best-selling DC titles were Legion of Superheroes and the new Teen Titans book.
Mm-hmm.
And that Legion run was was largely built off of him, because what I had read is part of why Legion started taking off is he knew how to write like Marvel. So he was bringing in like more nuance to like DC writing.
So here's the thing that, and this blows my mind because we have this comic from my dad's old collection. Like in the Legion, Legion of Superheroes, he created Karate Kid, Feral Lad, and Princess Projectra. He created the villain group, the Fatal Five. We have the comic of the origin of the Fatal Five being put together.
That's cool.
And that it's still, he's the one that wrote Superman's Race with the Flash. Like,
The first
and
one.
then when he went to go work at Marvel, Shooter did things like, okay, your stuff's got to be in by this time. I don't care. Have it in by this time. By the way, Wolverine's in Canada right now. He's not going to be with the X-Men who are in
India.
what was the name of the Genosha.
Yeah.
They're not. He's not going to be with the X. Kawhi because he's in Canada. But we have to have Wolverine in our story. It's the X-Men. He goes, he's in Canada already. He's not going to be in two places at once. And so a lot of people got really pissy about that. And so he left, and I don't remember who he worked with, but founded Valiant Comics. And Valiant wasn't ever a big name,
No,
but
it
Valiant was.
It had a, because like Image gets a lot of credit, but there was a point where Valiant was nipping
Yeah.
at heels
And
for a year.
Here's the thing. Valiant was really good. They brought back a bunch of Golden Key characters: Magnus Robot Fighter, Solar, Man of the Atom, and he
Turok.
established a whole bunch of other characters.
Turok was the
And-
Golden Key.
Yeah, Turok was a Golden Key, and the thing Shadow Man was too. The thing that I really enjoyed was that he did a storyline in Valiant that was called Unity, and Unity was this. Because Solar was the I can do anything character, but was limited by the guy who became Solar, limited by his personal restrictions. But there was another character who had similar powers. She was going to collapse the whole universe and make it over. I can't remember. She was named Erica, I think, but she had another name people pinned on her. The Unity storyline was going around and picking up all of the heroes and bringing them into this battle to stop her. You know, a real like crossover battle thing. But the storytelling was so well done and so tight
Yeah, because
that it was the best time travel story I have ever seen. And I told him that when I met him. I said, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it and how good Unity was in Valiant. It was the best time travel stuff I ever seen. He goes, yeah, I had to do a lot of work to make sure people did that right. And I was like, I don't doubt it.
and I think what I enjoy about that Valiant. So if you ever want to read it, you can get a lot of that stuff pretty cheap. But like they have a reading list because the continuity between books kind of goes between issues. But Valiant is very rooted in the real world.
Hard sci-fi stuff.
And I think Exo Man of War is one of my favorite concepts ever. So if you don't know, he's like pretty much a barbarian from like the Roman times that gets abducted by aliens and comes across power armor.
Yeah.
It's kind of that.
I think he was a Viking.
No,
But yeah,
I think he was a goth.
something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun concept. He calls his armor the good skin. Like it's
And
very flavorful.
there's he in Marvel he did like he had like the gimmick months, like the one, if you see all those issues where it has like the character's head on the front. I think he was still editor-in-chief when G.I. Joe did the silent issue 21. I don't know if that was like Secret Wars was under his watch, which had like a big impact on the industry. And when he came in, like Marvel really did have a problem with people not getting their shit in. Like it was actually affecting them horribly, like bottom line wise.
Yeah, he changed that. I'm looking it up. So he had a 9-year tenure as editor-in-chief, but and this is part of that goes towards his seat, but some of the things that he oversaw as editor-in-chief Chris Claremont and John Byrne, their run on Uncanny X-Men. Byrne's work on Fantastic Four, Frank Miller's series of Daredevil stories, Walt Simonson on Thor, and Roger Stern's runs on Avengers, Spider-Man. So like that alone, like,
And I think
now obviously he's not the direct creator doing that, but it's like he's the editor-in-chief on some of the like iconic runs of many different characters.
I think the
books.
Peter and MJ wedding was under his tenure too.
Yeah. So he did a lot of like really, he was there for like a lot of good stuff, and he did fix some of the woes that Marvel had. And Secret Wars was part of it. I guess the criticism is that some people, well, it's like the old adage. It's like if you have a problem, looks like a nail. Like some people said, like it's like Jim was really good for a while, but then he just couldn't stop fixing things. It's like, yeah, like he had a tenure. It was amazing things, like legendary things that the man just passed away. He was apparently 73.
Yeah.
Man just passed away, and it's like that you could have ended your legacy at the end of like the 80s, and you would have still been like legendary. But his problem is like I guess he continued when maybe it's like it's go back to wrestling. It's like sometimes like you need to know when to stop booking.
Yeah, but
Stop
I
looking.
think the problem is though is as soon as he was gone, Marvel immediately went on the path that led to them going into bankruptcy as soon as he was gone.
Yeah.
Because I think there's truth to that, but also, like, I don't think any other. I think every editor in chief for both companies that's come since then could learn a lot from him.
Just the idea of enforcing the continuity, and not letting things bounce all over the place it should be a tenet for everybody, so that your storytelling's consistent.
Yeah, I agree with that. But and like his Legion stuff's really good. Like you can read a lot of it on DC Unlimited. Because I think a lot of Silver Age DC does not age well. I tend to think the Legion ages very well because a lot of Silver Age stuff, especially DC, is really kind of corny, but it kind of works for the Legion.
Yeah.
So
it works for the Legion of Superheroes. Yeah.
And there's a lot of fun characters like Matter Eater Lad.
Look, man, I loved the Fatal Five as a concept. Persuader, Emerald Empress, Mano. I can't remember the other two. I'm pretty sure there were two more. Now I can't remember what they were, but now I gotta look, because I'm like, I gotta know what the Fatal Five were. It was the Fatal Five, man. It's daggone it. Let me see. Now I'm stuck on it. I'm sorry.
I think he was 26 too when he became editor in chief at Marvel.
How wild is that to be Mano, who could generate antimatter from his right hand, Persuader, Validus, Thorok, and the Emerald Empress. That's what it was.
You know what?
I couldn't remember Validus and Thorok.
You know what a guilty
Wait,
pleasure.
how old you? Go ahead.
You know what a guilty pleasure of mine is when I read old comics, if they leave the letter pages in there, is going in there and looking for letters from future creators, because you find them in there. Because I've always wanted. I don't know if he'd answer me, but I've actually wanted to ask Jim Cornette if he ever wrote in to one of them, if he knows. But like you find them all the time. Like I've seen all sorts of names. If you know the names, you're like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah. Brad, how old did you say he was when he became editor in chief?
26, because it was like 78.
He was 26.
Because he started.
Isn't that crazy?
Because he started in 65, I believe, is when his first work started hitting.
Yeah, he was born in I think 51.
But it came across last night. I'm like, oh man, like that sucks.
Yeah. I know some people through the convention circuit that knew him pretty well, and how can I best say this? He was a very upfront, not candy coat kind of guy, but he also wasn't a jerk, if that makes sense. Like, if something was a bad idea, he'd tell you it was a bad idea. But he wasn't going out of his way to be a jerk to you about it.
He probably mellowed out with age too. But that was a sad one. It's been a rough bit of time with some of the creators the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Didn't Peter David not died like
A few months ago, month or two ago? That one sucked
Yeah.
because we did talk about him briefly, but Peter David is best known for X Factor. His Incredible Hulk run is probably the iconic run, and I think he did Young Justice, which is a favorite of mine. But yeah, so I think that is it for this week.
I think so.
There is many a laugh to be had before we got to the sad stuff.
We got a lot of hating in there early, didn't we?
I just like, I don't know. That was the other thing I think we didn't mention was that Meltzer said no, he could have not done the show with no repercussions if he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, and they're not getting, now that it's the money from it's baked into their contract, they don't get a bonus for doing it.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the Discord. That unironically, I think the UFC treats their fighters better now than WWE treats theirs. But I think that's it for this week. I don't know what we're going to be doing next week because it's a holiday weekend, so I don't know what everyone's time is going to look like. Maybe we'll have some more clowning to do if some hilarity happens, but we just cannot pass up a chance to clown.
We couldn't discard our hater cred, so.
Well, I mean, it was like he opened a fresh buffet that was all you can eat on clowning on him. So I mean, wait, what can you do?
Yeah. We're
not made of stone.
Yeah.
But that is it for this week. Thank you for joining us as always. We've been in 3 corners. You've been in the 4th, and